All right, everyone. So, welcome back to episode 231 of the 580 show. Got pro strongman PSL winner Alec Soukup with me. What's up, buddy?
How you doing? Pretty good
Good, man.
myself.
Um, so Alec has over the last little over a year pretty much ran through the 105 gauntlet in the US and in the world level, really the world level. Just completed PSL last weekend, which we'll talk about, but won the Shaw Classic, won Worlds, won the Arnold. Um, so there's only one big title left, really, to win on the 105. Are you planning to do ASM this year?
So he hasn't come out with any of the information. Rumor is that it's going to be during the Olympia,
Yeah,
which is October. So I don't know. I have some thinking to do because that puts me like a month before OSG.
yeah,
And arguably, I still want another OSG title. So I don't know. I don't know if it would be too close. It's also, two travels. So I've got to come up with the money for travel both for the Olympia, which my assumption is it's not going to be very cheap just because it's Las Vegas,
yeah,
uh, and then OSG also. So, and I've been wanting to do the Shaw in August. So
yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
definitely have
no.
some thinking, but I think it'll come down to once he comes out with more information on it.
Yeah,
It'll help me decide what I'm going to do.
for sure. Yeah, it's funny because you don't like people hear pro strongman and like you're like as decorated as you can get now, and it's still funny because it is still just a hobbyist sport. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you win like a little bit of money. You probably won OSG the worst year you could ever win it because like it was the lowest prize payout ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still it's a hobbyist sport. You're doing it for the title, not for the money. But at the end of the day, it's still a real world. We have families and kids and everything. So like that is a very much deciding factor for like travel and stuff like that. So yeah,
Unfortunately, it is. Yeah.
yeah,
And, I didn't start this for the money and I'm not gonna, I
yeah,
don't continue to do it for the money. So it's not a huge problem, but yeah, unfortunately, we still have family and life and everything like that. So those all come into factor. Also, you know, these pro shows are hard on your body.
yeah,
I did 10 events at PSL in 2 days, and I'm still feeling it. So like I can't it's not like a local show and I can do it, every 6 weeks like I did when I first started. So the Shaw ASM and OSG, I don't think doing three would be smart for my body,
yeah,
let alone the prices of travel and everything like that. And I've been fortunate enough to win these shows. So basically my travel's been paid for from the winnings. But, you know,
yeah.
still
Well, it's
some.
still like you don't wanna do too many and then perform under your expectations where you're like in the back of your mind, you're like, fuck, if I wouldn't have prepped for this show, I would have won the show that like worlds, like you won another world title, I'm sure. And it's like, you know,
100%.
underperform. And the other aspect is the water cut, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's the reality of like you're probably walking around like 250s,
Yeah,
you know.
245, 250 I get right before the show. So I get up to this last PSL was 252, the heaviest I've been.
Yeah.
And yeah, 20 plus pound water cuts they're not easy on your body. They cause a lot of stress. Um, and they're not easy to do. So
Yeah.
they go really smooth for me. Frankie has me, on an amazing plan, but it's still a lot of stress on your body. So
Yeah. And it's like with having an actual like with having a job, which we all do, it's like what like it's like it's crazy because it does affect your week of work almost. I mean, like I'm in a job where I'm not like labor intensive, but I always think about people that are trying to water cut and then they go to work and they're like very high labor situations, you know? Like that has
oh
to be, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, it's your deload week, and then you're still working hard at work, but you're in like the most depleted towards the end of the week, you're in your most depleted, dehydrated state, and then you want to perform your highest on Saturday or Friday, Sunday, whenever your show is,
yeah.
so it's like it's just a reality of things you don't think about. You just see the person competing and expect them to compete at the highest level when there's all these different,
Right.
factors. You know what I mean? So
And you
people
still
just
got to
say,
get
"Oh,
days off.
yeah, do these shows, yeah, you gotta take days off, work too, away from the family, which obviously sucks. And with your brother doing all these high level shows too, like I'm sure he wanted someone to go to Russia with him.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I'm so happy for Seth, like, and then doing so well and like he was 100% alone, to my understanding,
Yeah,
like
100%. He didn't have any.
going going out of country for I think he said it was his first time ever,
Hmm. Yeah,
like and performing at the highest level, took it on late notice. Didn't have a
it was
visa till
amazing.
like a
Yeah,
day before he left. So it's all just things you don't think about like on the pro side, right?
right.
Um, but like you kind of hinted at it, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but PSL is 10 for you guys for the 105s. That's kind of their bread and butter show, their biggest show. It's awesome. And you did 10 events in 2 days and it was in the heat outside on the beach. Like what was the show like versus other shows you've done?
So I've actually come up with a pros and cons list because I did enjoy the show overall, and I really do think it's a good show. There were some things that obviously I wish was different, but you know, let's see here. So some of the things that I absolutely loved was like it was on the beach, right? The beach is huge. Well, the boardwalk is like over 3 miles long. So people walking, all day long are stopping and watching. So the crowd is amazing. Like you have hundreds of people stopping and watching and cheering for your lifts and whatnot, which is freaking amazing. I feel like even in an arena, you don't get that kind of noise and sound that close to you. Whereas here you're facing the people and whatnot. So that part was really awesome. You have a beautiful view the whole time. The ocean is right there. You get to hear the sounds of the waves, the wind. That part was awesome. We actually, the sun was definitely like beating, but we still had like pretty good weather. So we were
Yeah.
still like, you know, 75 at the 80 at the highest, the whole time. For the most part, the show ran pretty smooth. He had to deal with a lot of like hiccups, and he was able to like get past them, move on, and whatnot. Sponsors gave us really cool stuff. We got Notorious Lift shoes.
I saw
We
that.
got 60S mouth guards, stuff like that. So he did a lot towards his sponsor, like working with sponsors to get us stuff. It was a pro show. We didn't have to pay to get in, just pay for our travel and stay and whatnot. But a lot with that came cons too. The parts that, I think that something could have been done to make better. And it does put a hiccup kind of in the competition a little bit. You know, Sand is awesome when you're going to the beach, but when you have to be in the sand all day long for multiple days, you know, you don't want it in your lifting shoes. You don't want it on the bottom of your feet or on your hands. And they had a tent for us to go and sit in, which was awesome, but you're sitting on sand. So your
Right.
chairs are sinking, your bag's getting sand all over in it, your feet, like no one really thinks about that. Everyone's like, "Oh, I love the beach." Well, yeah, I do too. I just don't want it all over me
Yeah.
when I'm trying to compete and slipping and whatnot.
Yeah, and sand is so hard to get rid of.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like it's like go to the beach, like obviously, and like you feel like you have sand on you the whole week, like even if you shower and stuff. So it's actually interesting perspective because I never really considered that,
Yeah.
like the lifting aspect on the beach, you know.
And then they have to put something on the beach for you to, perform on. So they build this platform, which looks really cool, but it's sand. You can't really make it perfectly even.
Right.
So everyone, it's not like one person had to lift uneven, the other one lifted even. Everyone had to deal with it, which is fine. As long as everyone has to do it, then I don't have any
100%.
complaints. But it does make it hard to like, you know, break a record or perform at your absolute best when it's uneven or, you
Right.
know, there's warps in the boards because the moisture the next day and whatnot. There was like on and off rain. The weather was like very similar to Florida, where it would be like sunny, and then all of a sudden it's raining hard for like 30 minutes, and then it would stop and be like bright and sunny again.
Yeah. That's one thing. Okay, that's one thing. Like, I go back and forth because I think it's such a cool like idea to have one on the beach. And then, like outdoor events in general for strongman, I think are cool. But like when someone says, oh, like so and so went slow or we didn't have a live stream because of
Yeah.
inclement weather, it's like, well, you are hosting a show outside and you know that. So it's like you either have to have a plan in place, it's gonna go like shit, or don't do it outside. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like we're gonna have a live stream. It's well, the show's gonna be outside. So what's your what are your mitigating things in place to make sure that cameras don't get wet so you can have a live stream? So the athletes don't have to have a hour gap or doesn't have to start 4 hours later. That's my whole thing. It's like people feel bad, and I think they do a great job. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just like that would be me, having a show outside without a roof and being like, well, it rained. It's going to be shitty all, like you got to
Right.
have things in place. That's my whole thing is like, I don't feel bad when people do that. It's the risk you take and you got to have plans in place,
Yeah.
you
And I
know?
think as an athlete, like, some people complained, others didn't. And it was like you signed up knowing that these were the possibilities. And as long as everyone has to deal with those same circumstances, then it's just part of the show. Just
Yeah.
enjoy it. Like we all started this for fun anyway.
Right.
Or, I
Yeah.
would think most of us did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one
So,
thing I love about strongman is the best athletes always find a way to adapt, right?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Like, I
100%.
mean, think about the titles you've won over the last couple years. Every single factor has been different. You've had
Mhm.
arena shows, outdoor shows, everything in between, and you still found a way to keep like expo shows are a lot different than OSG. Like the
Oh,
Arnold is
100%.
is it's so I always am a firm believer that the best always rise to the top, right? And they find a way. And I think that's what makes strongman so special is that the implements are always different, the events are always different, the settings are always different. So you have to find a way to overcome, which is something I've always loved about strongman. So it speaks highly to you that can perform it everything, right? And I love how you say that as long as it's the same for everyone, then you're
Yeah,
okay with it.
100%.
That's I see you really don't see it at top level shows anymore. But my biggest gripe is at a local show where they try to mimic like an OSG or a world, whatever it is, and do head to head. Well, okay, me and you are going head to head, right? And we're on a log ladder, and my logs are 10-inch Titan logs, and then yours are a 12-inch pit bull. I'm like, well, what the fuck, Like, yeah, we're both doing a log press, but it's is severely different,
Oh, it's so
So,
different. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm happy you say that. As long as it's the same, then it's hard to complain because everyone's
Right.
going through it. You know, there's still like I like you make a list of like pros and cons. There's things you can always improve, right? And it's
Mhm.
great to hear back from athletes. So, what are some other things like from the show, like pros and cons, experience, like things like that?
I would have loved a proper warm-up area. There was no area with any extra implements or anything like that. They would give you a certain, maybe 15 minutes to go warm up out on the platform, and then they would go. We knew it was going to be a fast ran show. The downside to not having a separate warm-up area, if I did very well on an event, I would be the last one out there, correct? Or close to it.
Gotcha.
They would have the other guys start warming up. By the time you're done, the guys who got maybe last in the last event were done warming up. Well, that was their 15 minutes. And so I was ready to go, change my shoes really fast, still breathing hard, get out there. Well, there's no warm up time. They're starting the next event.
Yeah.
So if you did well, it was almost like a setback or something.
Yeah.
I don't get warm up time because I did well in the last event. So that I would have liked change. There was several events I didn't even get to touch, not at all.
Wow.
So just something like I think can be fixed. It just takes
Yeah.
a little bit more for the volunteers and whatnot to have an area to set up. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's good feedback too, and like you don't even think about okay, like that time, but then also like the time it takes, like yeah, you unwind from a event, right? But then you also have to change gear.
Yeah.
You might press in heels and they're
Yeah,
doing a moving
exactly.
event in these shoes, or so there's even that added time where that alone takes 5 minutes just to change and get
Oh
ready.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's really good feedback, because like it's just things that will help the show get better,
Oh,
you know.
100%. And it's not doing it because I'm hating on the show at all. I love it. I love competing. You put me anywhere in a competition with any settings, and I'm gonna enjoy. I freaking love this sport.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm honest. Like if we want the sport to grow, I think there's things that can improve every show. And so I hope they don't take it as, a negative, more so as looking to be better than you were. So
Right. And I think that's every promoter for the most part school, like especially big show promoters that get better than you were the last time. You
yeah,
know,
100%.
I do think that's one good thing if you're going to take a positive out of like all the competition in strongman, like it would between like federations and stuff, is the one thing that it does do is drive up the overall product. Because if a show sucks, even if it's a big show, people aren't going to want to go because there's so many options now. When in the
Right.
past it was you did the Arnold or Nationals and that was what you
Yeah.
did. So it's like having, they say like a rising tide, raises all ships or whatever. That's kind of like what it is now is that, hey, this show sucks. We're just not going to do it anymore. But so it forces all the promoters to be better.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think hearing from top level guys like yourself is the best, you know. So, yeah, man. I mean, what else? Do you have anything else from the show? Like from improvement or things you really liked?
I think it's been harped on enough, but I think he's very well aware of it, the live stream.
Yeah.
Had
It's funny. I was
so
with your
many
brother in the
people.
live stream, Devin.
Oh yeah.
He was in there. You could tell he was in there the whole time asking questions about you. And like we were trying to, I was like, if I saw it, I was like, he got, 15 reps on the squat, whatever, trying
Yeah.
to like, so yeah, it was very unfortunate, man. I really respect Tyler getting on Instagram yesterday and clearing it up because
Yes.
Obviously Dante produces this podcast, so I'm
Mhm.
biased to him and I love him, but he, uh, he was like, people were kind of behind his back saying like, oh, he dropped because they kept saying the live stream company dropped out 10 days out. It wasn't Dante. He had the second the PSL schedule got announced, he said, I cannot be at this show. We had a wedding for a gym member. So
Okay.
we were up in Lake Erie at a wedding. So he knew that he couldn't be there. So he had communicated that to Tyler like the second the schedule had been announced.
I think that's very important that he came out and clarified that though.
Yeah, I'm very happy because like Dante takes a lot of pride in like especially the PSL because that's been like the big shows that he does and like the graphics and everything like that. Like he works really hard on that. So
Right.
I just hate to hear someone like, take unfair criticism because he had nothing. He quite frankly he had nothing to do with it at all.
Right.
Sucks. Like it sucks. A company bails 10 days out. I mean that's really shitty.
Oh yeah, and it's not. I mean, he did the best he could, but there's not going to be a whole lot that you're going to be able to do 10 days
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, Dante mailed him equipment and everything. Like, and it's just, dude, I mean, if people saw before the episode started, me and you trying to get like just the cameras going, like
Oh yeah.
we're fucking useless. Like, I'm just sitting here, just like, hey, did you try like plugging and unplugging it? Like I'm technologically like illiterate, like especially with like a lot. If you had me run a live stream, I would set my phone up and be like, "Here you go," because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. The problem
Oh,
is, it has been harped on enough. The problem is, it's Pro Strongman League. So with that title, especially the 105 World Championship, with honestly, I think since I've been watching Strongman and been involved in the sport, I thought it was the most stacked class for the 105 I've ever seen in my time competing. I really do. Um,
even Anthony Furman stated that he,
yeah.
several of the other top guys, they all said that PSL this year was probably the most stacked class. Now, that's not to take away from any of the others,
No, no.
in the past or whatnot. There's always been, absolutely amazing. But there was truly 30 guys that were absolutely beasts at the
Yeah.
show and have
And
proven themselves.
you know what's funny? I think the 105 is like my favorite class to watch. And I think it's been I think throughout the history of like US strongman and world strongman in the world, it's been like the craziest, the longest impressing class. Like you've kind of had like these groups that have come through. Like
Yeah.
you had like Terry Rady and Furman and Clayton and Camby, and it's kind of now like Dan Hughes, all these guys, and it's kind of now turned to the next
Oh,
chapter.
100%. Yeah.
And it's the newest chapter I think has been like the most impressive so far. Like I mean, obviously yourself being one of the main people, but you, Nick Hine, Burley,
Oh, yeah.
McKeegan, Aiden Howe's a freak. Like your guys' class was just and there would be random guys like they'd be in like 16th place, but they'd come out in an event and like get a top three in event. So it's like
Mhm.
the class was so deep and there were so many good people. It was just that was the most disappointing thing of not having a live stream is having to follow an Instagram live
Yeah.
because I was so excited just loving strongman to watch. You
Right.
know,
I
it
think they
was
would have gotten thousands of views in the
a
live stream.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. I mean, dude, in a random I don't want to call Mark Cummins a random person, but he's a I mean, he's there commentating and doing a great job, but it was just
Right.
on his Instagram. And there were hundreds of people watching on an Instagram live story. You know what I mean? Like,
That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks, but sometimes you're just dealt a shit hand and you got to make the best of it. And
Right. Exactly.
you know,
I think they did a pretty good job of that, Uh, and I still had a blast. So
yeah,
enjoyed every minute of it. Even when I messed up really bad, thought I lost the.
yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, so we'll talk about some other events, but it came down to the 10th and final event,
Mhm.
and you had to, I think I'm saying this correctly, but you had to win and have someone come between behind, right?
That was my understanding. So there was 30 guys competing, right? In the last event, they only took the top 10 guys.
Yes.
Originally, it was supposed to be the top 10 guys do the sandbag load, then the top five move on, one of them having a bye until the next round, and then the other four would go again. Because of weather, and it was getting really close to like lightning and thunderstorms and whatnot, the clouds were all changing. He made a change and he asked all 10 of the athletes, but he said, we're just going to do one run and everyone's times that's your time. There's not another round or anything like that. We all said, okay. And he said, Matthew McKeegan actually brought up a good point to him. He said, if you only make it to where there's 10 points available, no one's placings is going to change because the whole show you've been going off 30 points.
I see. That's a really good point. I never thought of that.
So there was, 10-point gaps, 15-point gaps in a 30-point show is not that big. That's only a few placings.
Yeah, yeah.
One
It's
guy can get 15.
essentially I would have to do the math. I'm not good at math, but it's a third of one
Mhm.
event
Yes.
over nine previous events already. So it's your points are so diminished.
Right.
That makes
So
sense.
he changed it and he said, that's a really good point. We're going to make it still 30 points. But now that there's a third of the class, it drops down 3 points for every person. So number one would get 30 points, number two would get 27,
Mm.
24, and so on.
See,
That
that's
way,
fair.
it's still fair because your point system has been going off that the whole rest of
Yeah.
the show. Everyone okayed it. But going into that event, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe I was 4 points away from first place because I lost my first place, which I believe was the first show that I was in first the entire show, or majority of other than the
Yeah.
first couple events. Like a majority
Yeah.
of the show, I stayed in first, and then I lost it 2 events out. So I believe I was 4 points down, and I could make up 3 points by just beating him. I knew we were going last together. So I think someone had to come in between us in order for that spread and me to jump him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about strongman is points. Like you can perform however, but there's so many other factors, which I kind of love. Like powerlifting's kind of like predetermined almost, like gonna squat, bench, and deadlift, whatever you squat, bench, and deadlift. I kind of love the point system in strongman. I
Yeah.
think it makes it so fun. But yeah, that's crazy. So did you know you won right when you loaded your last sandbag, or did you have to kind of wait?
No, so my excitement, obviously, I knew I had beat Nick Hine in the sandbag load, but it was close. He was not very far behind me. But I knew going into that there was a possibility that someone would have to come in between. So of course I'm super excited, but then we go back and I'm like, I think I had won the sandbag load. And my thought was Nick Hine is so close to me in that there's no one that came in between. So we had no idea until they called this out. So we're all, Brandon, myself, and Nick Hine are all standing next to each other, just like basically holding each other's shoulders, like, have no idea. We're just waiting for our names to be called. So it was definitely the most surprised and like I'm sure it was emotional for all three of us, but definitely me
Yeah,
hearing their names called first.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy. That's awesome. So what was the actual point spread? Like how much did you win by?
So there was two people I believe that got in between Nick in the bags, and it dropped him 6 points. So I only beat Nick Hine. So I got first. Brandon Burley jumped to Nick Hine because Brandon Burley actually won the sandbag. He was, I believe, 1.5 of points behind me, and then Nick Hine was half a point behind him. So from
Oh,
first to third place, there was only 2 points.
isn't that
And mind
crazy? After
you,
ten events in 2 days,
yes,
it can be that close.
and mind you, it's a 30-point spread, so it's not just your normal 10-point show. It's a two
Yeah.
point spread between first and third with 30 possible points in every
Yeah.
event.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's kind of cool seeing a score like that. That's why I love like loaded shows like that. We talked there's like 30 guys. I love the scoring, like how it adds up where you have
Oh yeah.
high points by the end. It's pretty damn cool. An event win goes a really long way.
Oh,
I also,
100%.
I also love how PSL does the event win bonus for the athlete.
Honestly didn't even know about it until
Oh,
about halfway
really?
through the show. CJ actually, one of the announcers, he
Yeah,
came to me and told me. I was like, wait, what?
that's awesome. Yeah. It's a nice little cool bonus. Like it's like a
It is.
pro, it's like a benefit of being a pro, you
Oh,
know?
100%. I
So
love it. I think it's so cool. And it gives the chance for people that maybe not even make top 10 to still make a little bit of money.
pay for some travel.
Yeah.
You're a good deadlifter and you win the deadlift, but you get 13th. Shit, you
Right.
went home with $150 or whatever it is,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
so yeah, that's awesome. What I got to see though, the event looked really cool. I think that like just the different events, I think it's a grueling 10 events that like really does test the best athlete. I do still think the best athlete always finds a way to win, but 10 events where you have to be so well rounded when you have a squat, but you also have a deadlift, you have the max press, you have finger fingers, you have like the sandbag gauntlet at the end after, you guys are putting up such crazy times. And then in the back of your mind, like as a strongman athlete, I'm thinking like that's after 9 events. You're asking these
Yeah.
guys to do that. So, um, all these different things like a toss, everything. It's cool. So the only thing I from a promoter slash spectators, the fixed axle takes a really long time the way they do it. Um,
Hmm.
and I mean, I get it. They want to make sure it's fixed, but I would just be like, I just want to do a regular max axle. You know what I mean? Like, just put the weights on and like, let's go.
Yeah.
Which I think makes Aiden Howell's press. I mean, Burley too. People forget like because
Oh,
Aiden was going to the record.
yeah, Burley just mishapped on the 403.
Yeah,
Burley, it was there for him. So like that 385 that he did was just as easy as Aiden's.
dude, it was so weird to watch Burley. I've never actually got to meet or talk to him. I would love to, but he was so you know how they were letting you guys take like warm-up attempts that weren't
Mhm.
official attempts? His attempts just like his warm-up, the announcers were like, this is a warm-up attempt, this is an official attempt, and it looks so shitty. No offense.
Yes.
Like I was like, holy fuck, this dude has a sack on him because like he was almost like grinding through reps. And then he came out and took his first attempt and he like smoked it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and I mean, credit to Aiden because he could have just hit the 403 for the or 408 or whatever it would have been for the win and got the event win, but he wanted to go for the record. So it was a huge jump. It was what, like, I forget what his jump was, but it was all the way up to what, 422 or whatever,
Yeah, it was
420.
like 30 something pound, 35, thirty
Yeah.
six pounds or something like
And
that.
on a fixed axle, that makes a huge difference. I
Huge.
like, did it feel a lot different for you pressing on the fixed axle?
So originally, yes, we tried to make our axles in training fixed by using bands. And honestly, it did a pretty good job because I went there and it wasn't a shock to me. I knew it was going to be hard. I knew you had to loosen your grip in order to change get the axle to move. So it didn't come as a surprise, but it was still hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
still, the axle was especially hard because they didn't have any markings on it and they
Mm,
wouldn't allow markings, which I think
yeah.
is fair. Is if the original record was broke with no markings, then if you want to have it a record setting event, then have it the same way. That's fine. But yeah, I mean, your hand's an inch off with a 360-pound axle plus, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. You could
makes it
see a
very
lot of
difficult.
guys going like this, like starting at the end of the
Yeah.
axle and like kind of measuring.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, all that shit, that makes it kind of makes your guys' numbers that much more impressive. I could tell you were definitely excited at your last successful attempt, you and Nick both. I know you attempted a heavier one.
Yes. So heaviest I got in training was about 380. Obviously, being pressing outside is a whole different ballgame also. If people have not done that, go outside and press and try and get to your max. Like it is very difficult. You have nothing to focus on. If you stare at the sun, you're going to be really imbalanced. If you close your eyes, you're not going to have any balance. So that alone was difficult. So going out there and my first attempt was 340. It kind of felt a little hard, but when I watched the video, it looked really easy. Went out and did 360 and I was so wobbly. I was all over the place. Like I knew taking another jump would be just kind of a if I get it, great. If I don't, that's okay. I have to take my win. But yeah, I was really excited about the 360. I think it's
Yeah.
still a pretty decent number.
Yeah. I remember telling you when I came to Oklahoma because I did a PSL event doing a max axle, and I was like, dude, I wish I could have pressed outside in training because my numbers were I was not prepared for it. It truly is like Alec is 100% right. It is you're so used in training like staring at something on the wall.
Oh, 100%.
And you're at the beach. For me, I was in this like shopping bar center in Baltimore, but I look out and there's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing. And like you said, you look up in the sun, you're gonna be worse. And if you close your eyes, you're gonna be just as bad. So
Yeah.
it's a whole new ball game. That's a really good point. But yeah, I mean, there was some really impressive things on that axle. Did you see Josh Lancaster do like he wore like the blinder things, like he's like an
Yes.
Amish horse?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, he's a gamer, man. Like he comes as prepared as anyone I've ever seen, like with like
Oh,
critical
yeah.
thinking, I think he's a really interesting guy to follow. He's been on the pod a couple times, but yeah. The only event I really didn't like, just I'd actually be curious your thoughts on this, was the sandbag thing.
I knew you were going to say
I
that.
I kind of think that's a really horrible idea. I just don't okay, like whatever, like the lap stuff is fine. I my problem is the point system. I don't
Yes.
think I don't think there's a true okay, this is strong, man. There's no true calculation in anything we do, but like you're just assigning points to assign points in my eyes. And like what's saying a lap is worth this percentage of a shoulder and this, you know what I mean? It just doesn't, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think a lap is kind of just boring anyway. Um, so I don't know. What was kind of did your your mental game plan going into the show, did you end up sticking to that game plan or did you see other people and you just like threw it out the window?
Yeah, so when I started, long story short, I'll try to make it short. When I started into the sport, one of the things I was told was that when you have a game plan, don't ever change that because you could screw it up in comp. And my experience and from doing several high level shows and being able to adapt is the most important thing. You being able to adapt on the fly and change things that are needed is so vitally important. And things like that was a perfect example. All training, I did it to the shoulder, and I knew I could do 4 to my shoulder within a minute and possibly even 1 to my lap. So that was the game plan. Well, going out there after you've done axle, after you've done squats, everyone's legs are just trashed. And going to do these sandbags, I'm watching people, a few people try to shoulder them, and then a few people just take advantage of it and go all lap. And I'm like, the first one was Tyler Pruitt. He got 7 to his lap. And I said, in order to beat those points shouldering, I have to nearly shoulder. I think I had to shoulder it like 4 times. And I was like, that's possibly my max. And who knows if someone's going to beat that. So when I went out there, I still was like, okay, I'm going to shoulder 1. And then from there, I'll just see and I'll, go to lap. Well, I wore my heels because when I shoulder bags, I love wearing heels. But when I just lap a bag or run with it, I wear flats. Went out there and picked up that bag, and my legs were like jello.
Yeah.
I knew there was not going, if I could shoulder it, but it was going to take a ton of energy. So I decided just to lap it. Well, you're pulling from a deficit almost in these stinking heels. So
Yeah.
I'm like almost falling over. Overall, I did really well in the event. I think a few people just made a few mistakes and could have done better, changing up their game plan maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think one, it doesn't look very good. You have 30 guys and 27 of them, or however many, are just putting a bag on their lap. Like it
Right.
doesn't look that cool.
Yeah. No, 100%. And like, one thing I'll say, I think you made an awesome point. I actually clipped it, but was you hear don't change your game plan in strongman. And we talked earlier in the pod about adapting, and you mentioned it too. But I really just use that for really beginners, like your first show, but I think when you get to your level or just a high level in general, and you become an experienced strongman, you have to be able to adapt
I
because
100%
it is
agree
the
with that.
sport of adapting. Like you would have been stupid and you might have lost your title if you went out there and you're just like, no, I'm not going to change my game plan. What does that do? What's that going to give you pride? Like
Right.
I didn't change my game plan because people say I shouldn't change my game plan. Well, like you recognized, okay, my shouldering is not as good right now because I've done all these other events. I'm in the heat, and everyone else is getting these great points just lapping. So you got to play the game and do what you got to do to win.
Hmm.
So I think there's that balance where, like, yeah, a beginner, like if you've been throwing a bag one way all training and it's your first show, just go through the sandbag toss that
Right.
way. Now we might change your approach for the next show, but right now don't change it because you're a novice and you're just getting experience.
Right. I 100% agree with that. And I should have
Yeah.
probably clarified, but
No, no, no. I 100% agree with you.
when you're new, you don't know better or know another side or way to do something, so you
Yeah.
should change it. But
Right.
as you become a pro and you've done all these shows and you have lots of experience, there's several ways to do something and adapting and changing on the fly, um, based on your experience is important.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite event? Stones?
Um, oh gosh. Probably, honestly, as much as I like, my hip does not like squats. My IT band is still in so much pain from it. I would say the squats. I love being able to go out on an event and just technique is somewhat there, but it is how much grit and determination can you put into an event and you just keep going till literally your body gives up.
Yeah. I thought
So
the squad event was awesome to watch. That was one of
it
the ones
was
I
so
got to
cool.
watch all the way through. And in strongman, it's so hard to do a squat right. Like,
Hmm.
get the event right from a promoter standpoint. I've been to so many shows and seen so many shows where people are either squatting really high or it's super inconsistent. It seemed pretty much that it was really consistently done.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to do. So I think that was like hats off to the team. And I think the way they do that event with like the big end caps and like I think it's really cool. And you saw some guys tremendously struggle with it. You saw some guys do really well at it.
Yeah.
I think there was like four, maybe five of you guys that touched double digits. Um,
Four.
yeah,
So Josh Lancaster being one of them, he got 10. I got 13. Jeff Laney, a amazing power lifter,
yeah,
and
powerlifter.
he's going to be an amazing strongman. He is
He
an
did.
absolute
That's
beast.
another name I should have mentioned. Him
He
and you
is.
mentioned Tyler Pruitt.
Yeah.
Tyler Pruitt's been around strongman. He won nationals in 2022, I believe. But
Year before I did.
dude, he put on a great. I was really happy to see him put on a great performance because he did.
Oh yeah. It's funny because I've competed with him a couple times and I never thought he brought his best package.
Yeah.
And then seeing him at PSL, a totally different person. Like totally different. Never would have guessed that he would have brought what he brought to
Yeah.
PSL.
Yeah.
But Nick
How did
Hine
they?
getting
Yeah, 18.
yeah.
It's it's almost mathematically impossible, like, in a 60-second time cap to do that.
Yeah, I mean he's doing it like every 3 seconds.
Yeah, right, literally. So, yeah, and then it's funny, it's crazy because you see someone zero it, and then he comes out, or you come out, and you guys are 10 plus just flying. It's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. It puts the strength into perspective, like how did they measure your guys' height?
So before, let's see. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting when they measured our heights,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
was like earlier that it was just earlier that day.
Hmm.
Um, they had Bobby, Chad McCoy, uh, and a few other people out there, and basically we were on a line. We go up there, they get your height for the bar, how tall you wanted to unrack and re-rack, and then it was basically empty, so they didn't have the barrels on there, but they had wheels the same size as those barrels. And you'd squat down and they add pads or take pads away based on your height. And so you'd have to do it a couple times for them to see, okay, what is 90 degrees at least, you
Yeah,
know. And you have a lot of guys that are, trying to cheat it or whatnot. But at the end of the day, like because of the squish, all that weight and the squish into those pads, I would say 95% of the field still had a very good depth. Like
yeah.
they were hitting 90 degrees
I only saw one competitor that I was like, that's
Oh yeah. Yeah.
they found a way to game it, however it was. But yeah, it was a very, like I said, in strongman, very rarely do you see a squat event done well. Um, that was done really well.
Oh yeah, I was very happy with it. I thought it went really well. And honestly, as much as squats pain me to do, I wish more strongman had them. It's definitely a true test of like
For sure.
strength.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to do to show like PSL because you guys are all the same class versus like
Yes.
a local show. It's just so much.
So
I
hard.
I have, and I'm still gonna do it in one of our shows, but I have waved that idea for such a long time, and I want to do it. It just needs to be under the right circumstances. Like they had the combo rack for you guys, which obviously makes switching out the heights so easy.
Right.
They
They don't
just
have to change the weights.
yeah, they don't have to change the weights. That's the big thing. The other time I saw it done really well, and it would piss a lot of people off. You've done a powerlifting meet before, so you'd be fine. But was it the Rainier Classic either last year or the year before? They actually just
Last
did
year.
it powerlifting style.
Yes.
Like you just actually walked out a squat, judge said start, and you got either three whites, two whites, reds, whatever, and it was just a powerlifting meet style squat.
Yeah.
And now at a local show, that would piss a lot of people off because there'd be a lot of red lights.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I really agree with you, man. It's such a fun event to watch, and I wish it was done more. I would love to see it at like an OSG.
Oh yeah, I would too.
That's my
Yeah, love it.
that's my only gripe with OSG is that, well, there's a couple, but my only main gripe is that the event variance hasn't been crazy over the years. Like it's been, if you have 8 events over the weekend with the finals or seven, whatever it is, it's been kind of the same flow of events. Like you gotta carry into a backwards drag. You know you're gonna have the stones. The car walk's been around a long time. I get they're limited, but that's kind of one benefit I like about PSL, like especially you guys doing 10 events, is that you can't have a weakness if you're gonna be on that
No,
podium. You guys did it all. I mean, it's almost hard to come up with more events that you guys could have done.
right.
You did stones, sandbags, presses, squats, I mean, you did everything, right? So, I mean, that's why I think it was so cool, you
Yeah,
know.
100%.
So, so what's next? You said what would be first, the Shaw?
So yeah, originally my thought was I was going to do the Shaw. Had no info on the on ASM at the time, and I was going to do OSG. Several people there told me because I have a goal in the 105s.
Okay.
It's a goal that's been pretty recent, uh, and it's just changed as I've won several shows. And I don't want to sound arrogant or anything like this, but I think it's good to have these goals, especially moving forward. I would like to be one of the greats in the 105. So I would like to, when I leave, when people ask, who was your top three in the 105s, no question, I would like to be one of those names. And I think in order to do that, I need some more titles. But that being said, everyone kept saying you need an ASM title. So I reached out to James and I said, any word on ASM or whatnot? And he told me, he's like, I haven't put any of the info out yet, but we're looking at the Olympia in October. So then it started getting me thinking. So now I have some choices to make. Do I do both the shows? Do I do all three? And I just don't know yet. So I'm not going to commit to one and say I'm doing it. I would like to think I'm still doing the Shaw. I love the events. Shaw puts on the best show I've been to, but I don't think it has the name as OSG or possibly even an ASM. So it's just something to think about for me.
Yeah.
Um, I do have a question for you though, because I like asking people, what do you think it would take for me to be to get to, let's say, in the top three names in the
I
105 class?
I mean, I think you're pretty freaking close already with the last. I think there's some to longevity because I think some with the 105 is a lot of guys. You've seen guys like Clayton, you can be. They've been around and won their stuff, and but then they've just gone on, heavyweight. So I think there's something to longevity too, like
Hmm.
winning. I mean, dude, if you won 3 OSGs, I mean, my God, in my opinion, you're the best. Um, and I mean, you already have the Shaw, you already have the Arnold. I mean, man, it's all so objective, but they base it off titles, and
Right.
like, I mean, I think you're already, if there's a Mount Rushmore 105s, I think you're already there. I'll be 100% honest. I'm a little biased because I like you a lot and we're friends, but, I mean, it's so objective. I would really be curious, like people that are listening, what they would say, you know.
Josh King actually messaged me the other day, and he said, and I didn't even bring up the fact, but he said the same thing. He said, if there was a Mount Rushmore, I'd put your name on it.
I,
And that
I
means a
100%
lot to
would.
me.
I
Like
mean,
it never in my wildest dreams did I think when I started Strongman, I was going to get to that level and have people saying that I would be on the Mount Rushmore list
yeah.
of their. So
Yeah.
that
I
alone was
just
just,
think to me, I think longevity, and this is me, this is just my opinion. I think longevity matters because I've been in the sport for quite a while now, and you see so many people come in real quick and they're a flash in the pan, right? And you're like, not to your extent. You've been pretty dominant for this last year and a half, but they win a show, like a big show, like an
Mhm.
ASM, OSG, whatever, and they're like, oh, he's the GOAT. He's never gonna lose again, and then the next year someone else wins. You know what I mean? So to me,
Right.
it's like if you can do it for a couple years, like I think you're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Do you have, so say win a couple more titles and do it all. And do you have aspirations of going up?
It's hard to answer that like future self as of right now, no.
Yeah.
I'm
No, I
very
get it.
much I try to think of the task at hand or the goal, and it's very hard for me to look past. A lot of the people I'm around could probably attest to this, but people are talking about the Shaw and I was doing PSL. I'm done with the PSL, and like we were working out yesterday, and so it's like, yeah, this is an event in the Shaw. I had no idea. Like,
Yeah.
that's how focused I am on certain goals and expectations, and I'll worry about the other stuff when it comes. But as of right now, no, I don't. I
Yeah.
don't want to move up. I don't really have expectations to or anything like that. I have goals that I really want to obtain in the 105s.
Yeah. So what are do you feel comfortable sharing like your new goals, like your exact?
Yeah, so I would like a repeat of OSG. I believe there's only, I don't know, is there a 105 that has a repeat title for Worlds? I'm not sure. I don't know if
I
Anthony
know
did it back to back.
I know in the 80s no one's ever done it. I don't think anyone in the 90s. I'm trying to think if there is anyone in the 105s. I don't think so.
I know Anthony Furman has two. Uh, does Nick Camby have two?
I think he has one, maybe two. I know Clayton has two.
I know Clayton's weren't back to back.
No,
They
they
were
weren't.
years apart.
Yeah,
So that being said, like I would like a second one. I think that definitely
yeah,
puts your name out there. And then at some point, I would like an ASM title. I think it needs to fall. I don't want to go to a show ill prepared. So
right.
if that means me sacrificing another year to wait, I will. I'm not going to go into a show ill prepared. And then the following year, I'm definitely going to narrow down what I do. There will be shows I won't do again, and I'm going to focus on some big ones. But as of this year, I will most likely do two more shows, one of them
Yeah,
being OSG.
yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing we were talking about, like all the opportunity. That's the only ill side of that is that you got to pick your battles because you do put so much through your body. You don't want to go ill prepared. So
Right.
sometimes it means as you mature as an athlete, it means sitting out of that one show. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna
exactly.
have FOMO like hell watching it and seeing the results. And it is just part of it where in the back of your mind, you're like, man, on that event, I think I would have done 7 reps, but it's part of maturing and picking your battles.
Right.
Let me ask you a random question. You've been around and you've pretty much done it all now. What's some advice for newer people that are listening, like aspiring strongman that want to get to where you're at?
So I think there's people that start the sport and their expectations, are low or whatnot. And if that's the case, and you're just wanting to enjoy it and have fun at the local levels, keep that. Don't lose that. Don't do it because, you feel like there's pressure on you or whatnot. Enjoy it because you will go so much further enjoying the process, wanting to do it because you want to do it, not because of what other people are saying or because of pressure or because whatever reason. Uh, rem- if you're not doing it because you're having fun, I think you will lose track and focus over time. So just continuing having fun, I see it already. Competitions I go to and it's people like, oh, I'm still doing it because I have something to prove or this or that, I'm still having a blast. I
Yeah,
freaking love
right.
it. Like I absolutely love the sport. It gives so much purpose to my lifting. So,
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I reiterate that to a lot of people. It's like, oh man, I have to go to the gym day. I've never once felt like that.
yeah.
Like I think about it all day when I'm at work. I'm like
Yeah.
looking at what's on my program for that day, and I'm like get goosebumps still, and I'm like I get to go train and do it, and like I'll never miss training for anything in the world. Like I just love, I just love it so much, and like if you feel like you're having like it might just not be, you might need to take a little break and
Yeah.
reconsider, because if it feels like a chore, mentally you're not going to be prepared, and you're not going to, and then it's going to be even shittier because you're going to go and you're not going to feel as good, and you're not going to perform as good and stuff like that. There's
Yeah.
those days where you don't feel great
Oh,
and you got to
100%.
go. But and another thing I'll say to people just seeing you and your brother train is you guys love it so much, but just the aspect of just training your ass off for a long time. It goes such a long way. Like, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way when I say like Alec just kind of like took over the 105 scene, because it didn't just happen that way. If you talk to Alec or Seth about their upbringing and like their hard work, and like I see it if I'm in the gym with those guys. But like you talk, like I had dinner with Seth and I was talking about it, and like just how you guys train from a young age.
Hmm.
Like you guys have more miles on your body training wise than anyone. And like just going in and doing the work, like shutting up and doing the work and just showing up for a long time consistently, I think is like how you can get like Alec. Because
Yeah.
like you see these guys, they're great guys, nicest guys on earth, give you the shirt off their back. When they come in the gym, they're going to train their asses off. Yeah, they'll help you, they'll talk, whatever, but go in and show up for a long time and like
Yeah.
build your base, and then you're going to be good at strongman. It's, it doesn't, it's the greatest thing about strength training is it doesn't take any skill. You just got to be a dumb, hard-headed guy that just never stops showing up, right?
Right.
Like, it's awesome. That's what I love so much about it. It's like everyone's going to get exposed at the end of the day if you didn't put the work in. And that's
Oh,
the greatest
100%.
part. It's an individual sport. Just,
Yeah.
like there's no, when it's not like football or rugby or any other team sport where you can get out there and point fingers and be like, well, he missed the
Right.
tackle. Dude, when you're out there, it's you. If you don't
Yeah.
carry that sandbag, you didn't carry the sandbag. And like,
Yeah.
so I just want to like say, because I've been like gassing up Alec and saying like he burst onto the scene and taking out, like it didn't just happen by accident, like these guys train their asses off, and like
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, you can probably add to it a little bit more, but Seth has told me stories about like your dad just being such a good influence for you guys. And you have five brothers and nine other siblings total, right?
Yeah. Hmm. There's
I
10 of
mean,
us.
that's crazy. Like it's so, and like just the hard work that was instilled in like and like I think like the family aspect of just like a like community fan, I think has gone like obviously shaped you guys to be why you guys are so awesome. So I just wanted to add that in there and say that, I think just showing up is like one of the best pieces of advice you can give to someone.
I 100% agree, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't. I mean, strongman started in 2021 for me, a little bit before for Seth, but we have been training in the gym when like pretty hardcore when we were in just getting into high school. My dad wouldn't let us play football until we put on like so much weight
Yeah.
and showed so much consistency in the gym. So, and because we wanted to play sports so bad, that was something we made sure that we did, and we've just carried it on. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I
I've
remember I
been
remember
5 days
Seth.
in the gym
Yeah,
for
right.
over a decade.
Yeah. I remember Seth telling me like it was basically you were grounded if you didn't eat like your 4 to 5 meals a day.
Yeah.
Like you didn't get to train or didn't get to go to practice or
Mhm.
whatever. Like that's just so awesome to have that instilled in you, That's why you guys are the guys you are now. So,
Yeah, when you're a kid, you don't love it. You think, your dad's so hard on you and like
yeah,
he hates us and whatnot, but he's looking out for your future and the person that you're going to be.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, man, that's a good way to wrap it up. That was
oh,
it.
100%.
That was an awesome episode. If you guys aren't following Alec on Instagram, please do. Um, just an awesome him and Seth. They're not like super like influencers or anything, but they post their
No,
training, post training, post like event recap, stuff like that, and they're like genuinely, Alec is one of the best guys I've ever met in the sport. So
I
um,
appreciate that.
give him a follow. Wish him luck at his next show and just follow along his journey, because it's really just getting started, I think. So
Yeah, I'm hoping to have some longevity in the sport. So I would like to do this for some time, and I would like I have a kid and I would like her to just grow up and see the dedication and hard work into something. Um, but yeah, me and Seth we're having so much fun doing it too. It's making our lives just better. So,
Yeah.
we're hoping to start a podcast here shortly.
Awesome.
Hopefully this year, and we're just gonna enjoy it. Let's
Yeah.
enjoy the process.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.
See you guys.